What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome on in to Alarm Fantasy Football, the Monday edition. This is the edition where we really sort through the rubble. This is where, if you were just watching Red Zone or maybe one other game on the other TV, didn't have a chance to comb through all the info, well, guess what? Iggy and I have been up all morning, scrubbing through, looking at the stats, the data. Big shout outs to, obviously, we have a ton of stuff at Fantasy Alarm, but also places like Pro Football Focus, FTN, Fantasy Points Data Suite, Pro Football Reference, StatHead. Like we go through and we kind of check out and get as much information as we can and then boil it down to what matters for you. A lot of times for fantasy football, the most important things are who's getting the snaps, who's getting the pass downs, who's pass blocking, who's actually trending in the right direction, right? Who's on their way up. And I'll tell you, Iggy, we got some rookies and stuff that are picking up some pieces here. Very exciting weekend, man. How are you? How is your overall feeling on this weekend, dude? Did things go your way, or was it a down week at EU Land?
No, as far as my leagues go, some good results. It seems like the ones I really care about, I'm losing. I'm losing in the Kings to the last place team right now. Losing in my league of record, which might knock me out of the playoffs, but it's okay, man. With the good comes the bad. But as far as the football landscape, I mean, I wrote about it in the IDP report last week, which you can find on the website. The league switches in November. Like it's all just fun and games, and we're all scoring points and everything's and we're looking at the beautiful sunlight. Well, this past week showed you what's going on. The weather's going to start changing, starts getting colder. There were so many empty seats in the stands. I couldn't figure out what was going on, but it was probably just the weather, the wind, and the cold. And this switches from an offensive sport to a defensive sport, like almost on cue every early November. And that's why they say real football begins on Thanksgiving on. This is when you need good running backs. This is when you need great linebackers. This is when you need a good defensive line to go after the quarterback on those must-throw situations. Because if you're not playing in a dome, the weather's going to start getting nasty.
True. And, certain players, they either heat up or cool down at this time of year. I mean, Derrick Henry is an example of a guy that always turns it on, and you go and look at the box scores for him lately. Here we go. Derrick Henry back up and running. What we're going to do today is we're going to go through and hit on all these questions, right? Like Brendan said, should we be concerned about ETN's usage? Well, guess what, brother? We're covering that game. We're going to cover every game that happened yesterday because we already covered the Thursday game back on Friday's show. So today we're going to hit on all of them, and we'll start with the morning one in Madrid, the game that you know what? It came around a little bit. It was pretty boring at the beginning. Came around a little bit. Iggy, what did you see that early morning game over in Spain?
Boring game was kind of good for me. I was writing for our NBA articles all that morning, so I had that on in the background. I couldn't get too distracted. But as they say in Spain, vale. Okay, here we go. Marcus Mariota. He's still a viable fantasy football quarterback, man. It's just a crazy year for the position, and he's had 14 and 20 points and 6 point per passing touchdown leagues over the past 2 weeks. I mean, we just had Penix go down, Rodgers go down. It's going to be a crazy landscape across the quarterback. So Marcus Mariota is still good, and he's still giving some relative wealth to that team. When we break down the running back position, it's a mess, okay? Coop, Rodriguez had the most snaps, 30 snaps, 16 touches. That led to 85 total yards. JCM, man, he had only 18 snaps. He had 10 touches, so over half the time he's on the field, he's getting the ball. And that led to only 33 total yards, though. And then J-Mac, he had 17 offensive snaps, 6 touches, and 29 total yards. So nobody you can really trust, I do not think, from a week-to-week basis. And when they get to the goal line or when they get close, when it's time to get in some money, they're going to give the ball to Debo. They're going to draw up some kind of play for Debo because he's the, without Scary Terry, without Daniels Mariota's legs are still a threat. That's what makes him such a viable quarterback. But outside of the Debo, there's not a lot of production. I thought Luke McCaffrey was coming on great. He got hurt. He had 25 snaps in the slot, and he had 22 snaps out wide. That's who we're talking about, Debo. Ertz, he had 50 snaps. He had 27 on the line, 17 in the slot. Turned it in for 4 for 42. Mariota was kind of like erratic with some of his passes. He threw a couple more targets to Ertz that would have been, some of them 10, 12, 13-yard gains, and they just didn't connect on the passes. So
they got so many injuries over there, right? Because it's not just McLaurin. You got Luke McCaffrey's on the IR. Treylon Burks dealing with the finger issue, and then Jalen Lane's also banged up. So it's like Chris Moore they're throwing out there. So yeah, right now, I mean, Debo's in lineups. Ertz you can throw in there. I don't trust anybody else. And Chris Rodriguez, he's gotten the start the last couple of weeks. When he got the both of the first two guys. So he's a guy that should be added off waivers, but I'm with you, man. I'm not just throwing him right into lineups. You just got to make sure you get guys like that on the bench just in case it keeps trending his way. What
Yeah,
about
and those two, JCM and Rodriguez, man, were probably two of the early, because they both were picked up pretty early, is in the fab world and the fab sense of things. So a lot of money spent on those guys. So if you've held on to them, just keep holding on to them. When I look at the Dolphins, man, Achane, that's everything. Achane, he led the team in receptions, total yards. I mean, he had 45 snaps. However, Gordon clearly has a role like we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Coop, it hasn't changed. They trust him in third down situations. They trust him in short yardage situations. And he had 22 offensive snaps. And he had the only touchdown for the team. So it says a lot about Gordon. I mean, when you watch him run, guys bounce off of him. He's a true bruiser. So keep that in mind for HN owners. If you can go get Gordon, if you're in like a dynasty run or a championship run, I would try to do it. Waddle dropped a few passes this game. Tua put them right on him, some just a little off, and that affected his numbers. Don't panic if you're a Waddle owner. I expect it to get back to normal for him. He just had a few drops, just an off game, foreign country. The mental focus of the game can change when you have jet lag and so forth. So don't panic on Waddle. And I just got to say, Jordan Brooks, man, 10 solo tackles, 10 assist tackles. I think he had 14 tackles before halftime. Before the third quarter. So, IDP guy, I love it. I've never seen that 10-10. Last night, somebody had 7 and 8. That's a great night. That's a great night one day. That's still 5 short of what Brooks put up. So shout out to him.
Yeah, 20 combined tackles, man. That's a monster. That's a tackle monster game right there. So definitely got to be on your radar for that. We'll be keeping an eye on him. So and Dolphins, Jalen Waddle, he's going to be fine, man. He let us down a little bit because it was a really good spot, but again, dude, drops happen. Quick question here from Tyler. Hey, trade Achane in London for Amon-Ra, Chase Brown, and Olave McLaurin. Right now, yeah, because London, we don't know how many games he's going to miss. He's banged up here. Might as well. Why don't we talk about that game right now? But right now, I think I would do that trade. I think I would do it, man.
Yeah, I think I'm doing it too because ASB just had he had a terrible game, so he's going to bounce back big next week, and then you got Chase Brown who's starting to go off.
Yeah, you're giving up Achane, but like London, we don't know how many games this guy's going to miss. So let's hit on this one here. Panthers won 30-27. This Panthers now beat the Falcons twice this year. Falcons have a good team on paper, but they're not putting it together. Whether it's coaching, it's whatever. So on the Panthers side, well, let's start on the Falcons side. Possible season-ending injury for Michael Penix. We have to wait on that. They're saying partially torn ACL, I think is what I'm seeing here, which could just see Kirk Cousins rest of the way. We've got a knee injury for Drake London, and they immediately said that he's probably not going to play this week, which has me worried here. When London's out, the thing is we do have a sample size of games with London being out, and what they do is Mooney stays in his role, Pitts stays in his role, Kadarrell Hodge comes in, and he plays the split end role. Last time in week 8 when Drake London was out, he got 8 targets. He's maybe a streamer in deep leagues, but not really a guy you're rushing out to get because we do expect London to be back. And then David Sills stays in his role as like the wide receiver 3. So Kadarrell Hodge in like those deep, like Kings Classic, I think I still have him on the bench from week 8 when I picked him up. So I'll probably be throwing him back in the lineup. I started Michael Wilson this week in that my streamer spot, and that worked out nicely. Yeah, really nice. Now I can't even take credit for 18 targets. I didn't exactly plan that. Kyle Pitts here. He ran 30 of 31 routes, continues to run a lot of routes, but just for him to only get 3 targets in a game against the Panthers, which are one of the worst teams against the tight end, really hard to trust that guy now. He's still, because of what the landscape's like, he's still like 10 and 5 in receptions on the year, but he's just not producing. And again, the matchups are good coming up: Saints, Jets, Seahawks. So start him if you have to, but I'm not going to drop him. But this is really disappointing to see because if he had a good game here, we could be confident to use him in these good matchups. But because he didn't do anything, and he hasn't played well with Kirk Cousins. That's the other thing.
The thing, yeah. Cousins has been so great to tight ends throughout his career, except for Pitts. Maybe that was some of the offensive play call in. I don't know. We'll have to look. We'll have to see this week.
Right. So there you go. With the Falcons on the Panthers side, incredible game for Bryce Young, right? 448 yards, 3 touchdowns, best game of his career easily. Ted McMillan, this is the wide receiver setup for them. It's Ted McMillan and Leggett in 2 wide receiver sets. and Jalen Coker comes in for 3 wide receiver sets. Though Leggett left the game with a bit of a hip injury. He left the game, came back in for a couple snaps, and then
That's
it didn't
yeah.
feel right? And then he was done. So we'll see. If he's out, then Jalen Coker is going to pick up those snaps. And Bryson Tremaine will probably play a little bit too, but Coker could be a spot start if that's the case. And true to Dave Canales style, 66 snaps for Rico Dowdle, 15 for Chuba. At least we have some clarity. Dowdle's a guy. Chuba's not even on the spot start radar. And with these tight ends, only 20 routes each out of a possible 51. So even though Tommy Trumbull was the big hero, you really cannot start these guys in
One,
any sort of spot.
that
Was
was
that?
one catch. That Trimble was one catch, like the
One
one
catch, yeah. The monster catch, though. Huge play, game-winning play. But
overtime catch. Yeah, pressure play. So
yeah, can't trust those guys. Anything else on that game that we missed?
yeah, Bijan's great, man. He did the
Yeah,
deal this week. He's don't pay. I know some people were panicking. I saw some Bijan trade questions last week on some of the shows, and just like, man, just hold on to him. And with Kirk Cousins especially, I think they're just going to try to give Bijan the ball as much as possible.
Algier the thing about Algier is he does well when it's a positive game script, but with this team, it's like impossible to predict when it's going to be a positive game script or not, right? Like, who knows with Kirk Cousins and no Drake London, like who knows if they're going to be, beating the Saints by a ton or beating the Jets. I mean, you'd like to think that they would, and Algier would be on the radar, but we thought that this week, and they were at no point really winning the game, and Algier just gets phased out in those games. So can't really trust that guy. Yeah, I mean, maybe you can throw him in for a spot start. Next game here, Buccaneers, Bills. This is a big one. Crazy game for Josh Allen, man.
Yeah, 32-44. Yeah, let's just start with the Bucks first because we all know about Allen. Running back position, White had 43 snaps. I thought he was injured in that game, but I don't know if he came back. I mean, apparently not. 12 touches, 62 total yards. Tucker, 31 snaps. He had 21 touches and 140 total yards. So Tucker outproduced White there. Something we're going to have to keep in mind when we keep going forward. Mayfield had 31 yards on the ground and 5 rushes and a touchdown. He looks so crazy out there running. It's like he's just running his lower body as fast as he can, and it's still not very fast. But I love watching Mayfield play from a football perspective.
Yeah, he rocks, man. He's just so easy to root for, dude, because he's out there just playing with a lot of heart,
I mean, he's a Sooner, and I root for him. Not that I have huge, collegiate alliances these days, but still. Shepard, man, was the leading wide receiver. You just can't. When you think you can't quit him, here he is again. Like that one super flex spot, like you're trying to decide. Well, he led them with 4 receptions for 54 yards. Ibuka, he was double teamed something in this match. You could tell Buffalo shed their safeties over to him in some of the routes as well. That led to him only getting 5 receptions for 40 yards. Only 173 pass yards from this game from Mayfield. Why he ran so much, completely under pressure. Buffalo's defense looked really good for most of the game. Sometimes they have breakdowns, but for the most of the time, they look good. I'm trying to get Tez Johnson more involved. Clearly, he had a career high 59 snaps. They had him rushing. He was past that. It just didn't lead to any production. Right. Josh Allen, man, he's like the Mount Everest of spike weeks. He is like the best ball quarterback of best ball quarterbacks, man.
The best.
6 touchdowns, 3 on the ground, 3 through the air. And somehow this game felt close the whole way. You would think that would just be like a blowout game, but this game felt close, hence why Josh Allen had to do so much. And he was under duress some as well, but the secondary just would collapse after so much time, and he would find an open guy. Cook, Shavers, and Johnson, if you predicted that same game parlay touchdown, congratulations. Cook still has peak games, but his floor has come back up since those 2 bad weeks. He's back to having steady production. This was another good game for him. Coleman was a healthy scratch, suspension, I believe. That's going to have to be something we monitor going forward. Shakir injured. He just didn't have any yards, couldn't take advantage of this situation. So that led Gabe Davis to lead all Buffalo wide receivers, something I did not have on my bingo card as well. This was a wild kind of game, but it could be something that we see more going forward. Buffalo, Josh Allen, like you talked about, another one of those teams that starts playing well come November, December.
Yeah, Coleman missed a meeting. That was the word on that. He missed a meeting and was punished for it, but that's the thing with guys like that. Some guys, you miss a meeting and you're just, you're too important to the team. It tells you where this guy stands, He's not taking it seriously, and they're at the level where it's like, look, we're not going to sometimes when it's a really good player, they sit him for a quarter. They said, you know what, we don't need you out there, and they didn't. They won without him. So Coleman wasn't really producing anyway. Guess Gabe Davis could be a waiver ad. I don't know. It really is. They spread all the snaps out so thin on the Bills that it makes it really tough team for fantasy.
And
Buccaneers
target a lot of different options as well. It's
going around all over.
Yeah.
Buccaneers fans out there, like you can still be happy with your team for two reasons. One, you know you're playing without some guys that you're going to be getting back, Bucky Irving, Chris Godwin, maybe McMillan, we'll see. And the other is that division's falling apart, dude, right? Like, I guess it's, the Falcons just had some serious injuries. The Saints are brutal. And, the biggest competition right now is the Panthers. I think you can be okay as a Bucs fan. Next game here, let's take a peek at the Chargers, Jaguars. So both teams, we got to keep in mind, again, we're going through the data here. Like a couple games last week, both teams pulled the starters towards the end, which kind of made the numbers a little wonky here. Also, for the Chargers side, Kamani Vidal got a little banged up and left the game and then came back in, but they kind of used Travion Williams in the second half a good amount just because there was no reason to, it's 35-6. There was really no reason to get Vidal even more hurt. So keep an eye on him, but he's probably still a starter moving forward. This isn't some like plan of theirs. He just got a little banged up. Until Hampton gets back, he's still a guy that's going to be on the radar, but this is a terrible game for the Chargers. Worth mentioning, Aronde Gadsden once again led the team in routes run, tied with Quentin Johnson, who basically did nothing out there. Keenan Allen ran 24 routes. McConkey ran 21, but again, they kind of pulled the starters towards the end. But like for me, it hasn't changed much. I'm starting Gadsden. I'm starting McConkey. And then Keenan Allen is a PPR option. Quinn Johnston really only like a standard league dart throw at this stage, hoping he can catch a long ball or a touchdown because he's not giving you much. On the Jaguars side, Bashal Tutin, man, the people that were waiting on him, he looked great this week. Of course, as always, he ended up rolling his ankle. So before he rolled his ankle, and this is per Nathan Yaki over PFF, shout out to him who tracked it up until the ankle injury. Travis Etienne still played 55% of the snaps, and Bashal Tutin played about 40%, which is a much bigger split for Tutin than we've seen all year. All year long, it's been Etienne like 80%. So Tutin was playing well, and he kind of pushed that split, but then he hurt his ankle. He said he's okay, but you never know with that. So we'll have to see what he looks like. Etienne's still a guy you're going to start, but Tutin definitely needs to be stashed just to see with him. Jacoby Myers became a full-time player this game, which is good. He's been getting ramped up. He basically played the whole game on the outside, and Parker Washington primarily just stayed in the slot. When all is said and done, BTJ is going to be on the outside in the Mike Evans role, and Jacoby Myers should be in that kind of Chris Godwin type role, and Parker Washington will probably just be the wide receiver 3. Again, he didn't really do anything this week. For me, not really trusting that guy moving forward. So when all is said and done, that's what it's going to look like. And then Brenton Strange got back to practice a little bit, hasn't been activated, but he could be activated as early as this week. And then he's probably, for me, a guy that probably in like that Kate Otten range or so. Probably the third target on the team behind BTJ and Myers, but could have some spot starts. So if you have an IR spot, throw him in there and we'll see what he looks like, right?
Yeah, just the AFC South, Jacksonville. They may not catch the Colts, but they got to stay up because they're only one game ahead of Baltimore, Kansas City, and Houston. So they got to just keep applying the pressure. It's going to be interesting watching them down the stretch.
Yeah, that both those divisions are kind of crazy, man.
Yeah, man. Switching it up to the Green Bay Giants game, very interesting game from the perspective of injuries and what's going to happen. Josh Jacobs' injury knee could be out multiple weeks. That's something we have to monitor. He hasn't been super effective this year anyway, so I think some time off might be good for him. Then leaves Emmanuel Wilson and Chris Brooks available. Emmanuel Wilson has 179 offensive snaps this season, 220 total yards, and 11 receptions. Chris Brooks has played 211 total snaps, but only 72 of those have been on offense. He's had 10. He only has 10 total yards, though. He doesn't have 10 rushing yards. He has 7 receptions. So expect to see a dual role here is my whole point. It's going to be pretty clear when Emmanuel Wilson's in that, it might be more of a run play. He does catch the pass as well, but he's more of just like a bruising running back, whereas Brooks has a little bit more finesse. Obviously, he was a special team specialist, and he might be utilized more in the pass game, which Jordan Love doesn't dump it off a whole lot, but they do draw up a lot of plays for the running back. So it's something to remember. Romeo Dobbs, once again, man, 42 snaps, 4 catches, 53 yards. That leads all the wide receivers. But Watson, this was his game, really. He caught a touchdown from 2 different quarterbacks. Pretty rare to do. There's another person that did that we'll talk about later today. But 43 snaps, 4 receptions, 46 yards. Big time touchdown. That's what Watson is. He's the big play kind of momentum shifting guy. That's his role, but he looked excellent out there, independent of the quarterback, independent of who was covering him. He had double coverage in that end zone corner catch to seal the game, kind of. And it didn't matter. 7 players with 1 reception. I thought it was very interesting. Savion Williams, the 3rd or 4th round rookie out of TCU that Green Bay selected, he had 2 offensive snaps, and one of them was that 33-yard catch in the 4th quarter to help advance the play.
Huge play. Huge play.
And then, when you look at Golden, he had 19 snaps, offensive snaps, and only had 1 reception for 24 yards. So, wide receivers in the 1st round, I think they're kind of real tricky, to be honest with you. A lot of expectation comes on them. But Williams is obviously excelling. They use him in all 3 phases: rushing, kick, like special teams, and receiving. Fitzpatrick led all tight ends with 35 snaps. But he only had 1 catch for 5 yards. Wiley had 22 offensive snaps, 1 for 2 yards, but he had that touchdown. And Musgrave had 19 snaps, but only for a negative yard. So the tight end position's murky. Just stay away from it for right now in Green Bay.
Yeah, that's a real shame because I was hoping that Musgrave he ran 74% of the routes last week. I was hoping he could keep that going. But if they're going to rotate like that, it's just another team like the Steelers or the Bengals where it's like you don't got a clear top pass catching tight end and we just stay away, right?
Yeah, they run the ball too much not to have a tight end, and so you'll expect to keep it to continue. And then last thing on Green Bay, just watch Love's injury. He had to go out, he had to come back in. There's 2 good divisional games on deck, and they're going to be important. One's on Thanksgiving, so something to monitor.
I had said this earlier this year when we were talking, somebody was asking for they have a really crazy deep super flex league, and the topic came up of what backup quarterback do you actually even trust? And Malik Willis, I mean, he looked good last year. He looked good. He looked fine yesterday. That's the kind of guy that I think could go in there and be a super flex option if anything happens. Whereas there's a lot of backups out there, we saw it with Cooper Rush and some of these guys where it's there's no reason in any league to have them. But Malik Willis, I think is one of the better backups in the league.
Yeah, Chuck Bass's tackling league, maybe they might be good in that one.
I like Malik Willis, dude. I like.
Yeah, Malik Willis is a good quarterback. They knew what they were doing. Tennessee, Matt LaFleur connection there. Tracy, running back for the Giants, had 37 snaps. Of those snaps, he had 23 touches, man. That's a pretty outstanding number. That led to 139 total yards and 4 receptions. Singletary had 35 snaps, 17 touches, 47 total yards, but he had the touchdown. So I don't know if goal line work and 3rd down work is something that's going to continue to be Singletary's. Tracy looked good out there, so there's not a reason to not utilize him or not have faith in him. But just something to keep in mind. Maybe you probably can go handcuff with Singletary right now, and as we get into the playoffs and the latter part of the regular season, I highly recommend trying to go get Singletary if you are a Tracy owner. The wide receiver position, just a little bit unexpected. Hodgins had 57 snaps, 5 receptions, 57 yards. Wandell had 70 snaps, 4 receptions, 36. He's going to be going up against the best cornerback. Cooper and I talked about it before, but there is a safe floor option there, especially with Winston. And then Hyde had 44 snaps, but only 2 for 18 on the production. Theo Johnson had 66 snaps, 3 for 38. Not kind of typical tight end line. And then Bellinger had 30 offensive snaps, but he had 1 target, I believe, or 2 targets, no catches. And then Winston, he's okay for fantasy football. I mean, like I said, I'm going to make a montage of all the quarterbacks that we've started this year. And Winston's not going to be bad to help you if you are, middle of the road team. You just lost Rodgers. You just lost Penix. You just lost somebody in a super flex league. Don't be scared to get Winston.
You got it, dude. That's how winning's done. And I'll tell you, Howard Bender once upon a time won a huge FSGA league starting Isaiah Hodgins in the championship. And, he went out this week. Howard, for old time's sake, threw him in some DFS lineups. I mean, he played the full snap share there. So, if guys are going to be out, you got to adapt. You got to make moves. That's how you become a champion. And as our chat pointed out, we have a new partnership. I love this partnership because I grabbed one of these immediately once we got set up, dude. USA Fantasy Sports Change. Look at these things, dude. I right when I got this thing, I messaged the guy Maddie over there, who's awesome, and I said, dude, you got to update the pictures on the website. The pictures do not do these things justice. This thing is thick and like it looks like a little medallion on the website, dude. So if you guys, there's nothing cooler than getting something like this for your league. It's a gift that you can get for the entire league. Like, how often is there one present that you can give to 11 of your friends? You know what I mean? And there's nothing cooler than walking into the draft and showing up with the big swag chain on, big dogs here for the draft, dude. So it's just a cool thing. And we met this guy Maddie at the FSGA at the expo and stuff, and he kind of talked to us about how like their company 20% cheaper than anybody else out there. Howard, good friends with the guy, and we said, you know what? Let's get them going. Let's get them going for the family. So if you go over there and check out fantasyalarm.com/USA chains, definitely, if you don't mind, throw in the promo code section USAFA just to let them know that we sent you over there. But these things roll, dude. I mean, the thing is, I finally just was able to get it for myself. It showed up this weekend, and my daughter, I think, wore it for 10 hours. I mean, he was just running around the house in the big. I'm wearing this for the rest of the show.
Yeah,
in the big dog chain
style,
Was that
Rampage Jackson style? I think he used to wear just the chain out.
just that she was just rampaging around the house, rocking the chain. So yeah, definitely big shout out to them, man. We're playing in some content around these things because they're sick. I think we're gonna do the hot to go on Friday with the chain. So
they are sick.
Yeah, they are awesome. All right, let's rapid fire through a couple of these because there's a lot of games here, and we got only so much time here in the show today. So Bears 19, Vikings 17. I'll tell you what, Iggy, there are certain players that have the upside because we've seen the ability, and now they're starting to get more snaps. And this is how you get those like rando, not necessarily league winners, but the guys that really help you wrap it up. I mean, every once in a while you do. Like Amon-Ra St. Brown, his rookie year, week 13 on, double-digit targets every week. Like, that was a true league winner if you had the stones to start him. Hunter Renfrow that same year when Darren Waller went down and Antonio Brown froze his feet off. I mean, like, he was a league-winning player. Last year, Adam Thielen showed up back from his injury and was wide receiver 13 over the last, 6 weeks. Luther Burden right now is a guy who stepped up, finally got the snaps in 3 wide receiver sets over Alameda Zacchaeus. Like, he's been, in my opinion, better on the film than DJ Moore. And as of late, Roma Dunze. I mean, like, this is the time of year where these guys start getting more and more work. So Luther Burden is a guy you got to have stashed. Not necessarily started right now, but stashed. He's one injury away. And if he just keeps playing well, maybe they do just start using him more. So definitely interesting there. Colston Loveland only got a 58% route participation, so hard to really trust him. We'd love to see the rookies play more. Their time will come for sure in this scheme. DeAndre Swift is playing really well. The one problem, Monangai. They keep using him in the goal line. He's vulturing some touchdowns, but I'm still going to start Swift every week where I have him because he goes out and has 100 yards of scrimmage in all these games on his own, 90, 100 yards. So keep playing him. It stinks that the touchdowns are being vultured, but there's so many running backs out there that just aren't good that we're going to keep using him. On the Viking side, J.J. McCarthy continues to struggle, and we pointed this out early in the year. The ADPs for these guys did not line up, right? You had Jefferson and Addison, Hawkinson all being picked early, McCarthy going late. It could only go one way or the other. Either J.J. McCarthy was going to big time outperform his ADP, or some of these weapons were going to struggle. And that's what we're seeing here is that McCarthy's not outperforming his ADP. Turns out Sam Darnold is actually the guy who is pretty good. And J.J. McCarthy's struggling. And you got to start Jefferson every week, but Jordan Addison and T.J. Hawkinson are not must-start players. Neither one of those guys has more than 3 catches in a game over the last, 4 games, right? Since JJ came back. I don't think either one has more than 3 catches in the last 4 games. Can you win your league with Caleb? You absolutely can. You can win it. You could lose it. But, he's got fantasy football upside. And we like Ben Johnson. We like the scheme. So, yeah, absolutely. Just to wrap up the Viking side, it felt like Jordan Mason was playing a lot, because he was making big plays and he kept showing up on the red zone. He scored the touchdown. But Aaron Jones played 37 snaps. Jordan Mason only played 9. So Mason is still in that category with Monangai, with Algier, where he's not really doing anything besides stealing touchdowns. Like for this week, if you had to pick one of these 3 players, who would you pick? Jordan Mason, Kyle Monangai, or Ollie Gordon?
Not Mason against Green Bay. Chicago.
Right.
Who was Carolina playing? Or who's
Carolina gets the 49ers. Yeah. And then the Dolphins, the Dolphins are actually on bye. So it's pick between Monangai and Jordan Mason.
Monangai is definitely the choice.
Yeah. He got Monangai did get like 40% of the snaps or so. So yeah, I mean Jordan Mason again, unless he's gonna have you can't start guys in fantasy that only play 9 snaps.
That's crazy. 9 snaps and he had that much production.
He felt great. I was shocked, man. I was shocked because like you watch the games and then you go back and you look and you're like, how is that possible? There's a couple of those this week. So anything else on that game before we move on to the next one?
No, man.
All right. Well, then let's hit the Bengals Steelers.
Yeah, Chase Brown, man, it's just the last 3 of his 4 weeks, he's had 14 points without a touchdown. He's back. You know, the Bengals are utilizing him. Zach Taylor's game planning for him. So just keep that going in mind. He led Cincinnati in receptions and total yards this week against Pittsburgh. Obviously, wasn't that successful. It's something we need to monitor. Higgins, Chase, and Yoshi all had 3 receptions. Flacco spreading the ball around. But Pittsburgh still got a stingy pass rush defense, so quarterbacks are going to have a hard time against that defense sometimes. Fant, I think he's usable, dude. 32 snaps, 5 for 36. Hudson had 22 offensive snaps, 3 for 22. Fant with Joe, I think it's just sneaky value going forward. I went and picked up Fant, didn't put him in the lineup, but, in a tight end premium league, he's going to outproduce some wide receivers just simply if he keeps getting 4, 5, 6, receptions, he's going to be good. So maybe go take a look at him. Rodgers for the Steelers, he obviously fractured his wrist. I mean, your wrist, there's so many things going on in here. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but he's probably going to miss some time. Go look at Mason Rudolph. He's probably available in most leagues, I'm assuming. Gainwell, dude, we got to talk about it again. This is why you handcuff. I'm a Jaylen Warren owner. I have Gainwell. Gainwell had 41 offensive snaps, even though Warren was looking good. He got injured. They never put him back in, really. So that led to Gainwell getting 16 touches, 105 total yards, 7 receptions, 2 touchdowns. He caught one from each quarterback, caught one from Rodgers and Mason. So something to keep in mind going forward. He's really good. He's a great backup running back. Warren had 18 snaps. He had 12 touches in those 18 snaps. It looked like the game plan was to use him. Arthur Smith, wearing out a running back to the point they get hurt. Nothing new there. 67 total yards on those 12 touches from Warren. Just something to monitor. We need to monitor that. Gainwell owners, I would say play Gainwell next week regardless because he probably has a lot more reps with Mason Rudolph. So just Gainwell's going to have some sneaky value next week going, for the Steelers. And then, I love talking about the tight end matchup with Arthur Smith and Coop every week here. Washington, 46 snaps, 4 for 67. Definitely going to win the Angry Run Award. There's no doubt about that.
Wild, dude.
That was like that. Like somebody said, the only comp, I think Andy Behrens was like, the only comp is, the Colts mascot when they're playing against the kids. And it literally looked like that. You could tell, was it Stone was like, I don't think so.
Yeah. He made a business decision, the second guy there. And he's still, 3 guys getting trucked, dude.
Yeah, I mean, he could have kept going. Like, the guy, the last defender bounced off of him. Freiermuth had 30 snaps, only 1 catch, 19 yards. Smith, 35 snaps, but 0 production on a couple targets. So it's a mess. But as I've stated for, a month and a half now on this specific show, I like Washington. Go pick him up. But, expect it to be either kind of, just say flourish or nothing, But if you're going to get one, I like Washington. And then at the wide receiver position, it's pretty much DK or nothing.
Yeah, this is why I hate. Well, yeah, I know. And Calvin Austin kind of let us down because he had been getting a good snap share, but they actually, after last week when he played poorly, ball popping off his hands, getting intercepted, they kind of benched him for Roman Wilson this week.
Yeah, so. Wilson outproduced him, or
and played more snaps. Yeah, the problem I run into with all the tight ends in this game is that when you look at like the total routes run, the rotation is so annoying, right? Like, at least Darnell Washington ran 20 routes, but it was out of a possible 33. And in most games, Johnny Smith runs more routes. Pat Freiermuth has yet to lead this team in routes run in any game. That's why we're kind of staying away. With the Bengals, listen to the routes run. So this is out of a possible 41. You got 17 for Noah Fant, 17 for Tanner Hudson, 16 for Drew Sample. It's like I start Noah Fant in the Scott Fish Bowl because like targets are just, you get insane points for tight ends. It's super tight end premium. First downs are a point and a half. But like in a typical league, I just can't trust these guys. So I think of that crew, Fant is probably the best bet, but I can't be starting Darnell Washington. I'm just not going to do it. There's too many other options out there. I can't do it. I love the play. That play was awesome.
I mean,
I just had a tweet out about it.
Go back and look at some of Rudolph's. I don't have none of his games just stick out in my mind. I'll have to go back and look at who
we'll check
what he likes to do.
Yeah, Rudolph. Yeah, again in super flex. I mean, if Rodgers has a broken wrist, he always says, "Oh yeah, I'm just going to play." But like, if you can't grip the football, you can't play. And we're going to find out before waivers run tomorrow whether or not he's going to be able to play. Next one here, Texans Titans. Woody Marks. Good news here. 46 snaps for him, only 18 for Chubb. Woody Marks is the guy now. So like I've been starting him, but we can be confident moving forward because last week you could argue that Chubb missed most of the week, and maybe that's why. This week, with everybody healthy, Woody Marks is the guy. So there you go. Another guy I'm stashing. I mentioned this last week, but Jaden Higgins' role is growing, right? It's getting bigger as the season goes. Earlier, he was only playing in 2 wide receiver sets. Last week, he finally got some snaps in 3 wide receiver sets. And this week, once again, he was second in routes run and production behind only Nico Collins here. I mean, he played 59 snaps. Nico played 59. Higgins played 43, but that's a guy that needs to be stashed. 7 targets for him this week. Again, Dalton Schultz is probably still the number 2 target on the team, but I'm always looking to stash the next up-and-coming rookies to see what's going to happen. And Schultz, this is not a good matchup for him versus Titans, but he came out, got 9 targets. He's definitely on the PPR radar. Just like Jake Ferguson, he doesn't really do a lot for you in terms of yak. But, hey, targets are king. So a guy like Schultz is definitely on the radar moving forward. On the Titans side, Calvin Ridley briefly returned, and then he broke his leg. Broken fibula, out for the year. So if you were stashing him, you can go ahead and drop
the
him.
Original betting OG.
Yeah. So see you later, man. Shamir DK, he got a concussion here. So what we'll probably see, let's assume Shamir DK is healthy. It'll be Van Jefferson and Eli Ayemanar on the outside. And then Shamir DK will be the wide receiver 3 playing the slot. That's where he plays. If he's out, they use a guy, Mason Kinsey. So, I mean, maybe a super deep DFS dart throw if you really want to go there, but it's probably going to be Jefferson and Eli Ayemanar. For the tight ends, not really anything we can do about the split here. 27 routes for Chig, 23 for Gunnar Helm, and that's out of a possible 43. So again, split down the middle. If they could combine the 2 of them into one guy, then it would be great. But because of the way they do it, not going to work out. Pollard in positive game scripts gets more run work. Spears gets more pass work. Again, most of these games are negative game script games, so Spears played more than Pollard. Simple as that. Anything to add on that one?
Yeah, DK, if you're in if somebody drops him and you're in a return yard league, go get him. He leads the league in return yards with over 1,000 yards. And the Titans offense, I mean, their defense is terrible, so they're going to keep getting kick return.
In my Scott Fishbowl eliminator, he's literally like the number 1 player because of the wonky scoring over there. He's scored more points than Christian McCaffrey. And I almost got eliminated last week because Shamir DK was on bye. Yeah. Like he's been that good. Like I had the second lowest score, almost got eliminated, dude. So yeah, I need him to be healthy.
It's a great. I mean, when I set up my leagues, are deep leagues, so I always include return yards just so we can get more out of the waiver wire and so forth. But yeah, keep an eye on DK. If he gets dropped, it might be worth the stash in bigger leagues.
I like 35 yards to a point is it gives you a little something, but it doesn't it doesn't like go crazy. It doesn't overbear. So if people wanted to add that element without it being crazy, 35 yards to a point. Do you do like 20 or 25? Because that's meaningful.
15, I think 15.
15.
I remember how much the landscape last year they weren't getting any yards. Like in the years, I've had return yards going for 15 years, and it was pretty steady. And then last year, like 2 years, they changed it, and then last year they killed it essentially. So I was like, well, we got to do something, and then I never changed it back. You can't change those things mid-season. That's just not.
Shamir DK's got to be nasty in that.
Yeah, man. I went and picked him up in one of those leagues that I set up. So,
a couple of years ago in the Cowboys, Tony Pollard must have been incredible in that league.
Yeah, I mean, you know what is crazy is Keldon Johnson starting to get some more for Tampa Bay, but they had Sean Tucker back there. So he had over 400 return yards, getting some value that way as well. So that, it just adds value to your players. I think it does anyway. It's football's a three sport, 3-level game, especially teams.
Of course. That's why I like 35 yards to a point, because like we added that in our league. There was a year we were all Patriots fans. There's a year Danny Amendola had 3 kickoff returns and punts where he just ran them for like 75 yards and got tackled before he scored. And we were like, that's got to be worth something. So we figured out to add that. I like the 3 one-off rules I like are 35 yards, return yards for a point. I like points for first downs. If you could do like half a point or whatever. I also like points for DST for 4th down stops. I just think it's a lot of fun when you're watching your defense for fantasy and a 4th down comes up and they make the stop and all the players go crazy. They're like, yeah, right. Like, that's why you got to get one of these. So, but like, it is exciting for you for fantasy. Then now you're getting the point too with a big 4th down stop.
Oh yeah, any exciting play, you need those in fantasy, man.
You got to do that. How low would you be willing to trade Jamar Chase? Would you go for instance, good examples here, as low as Pickens or Waddle? I wouldn't.
No,
I can't do it.
Especially not dynasty. I wouldn't even do it in redraft. I just can't.
Not in redraft, yeah. Definitely not in dynasty. All right. Next one here, 49ers, Cardinals.
I'm going to try to go through this one quickly, but this is by far the best fantasy football game of this weekend. Welcome back, Brock Purdy. We talk crap about him. We say he's just an average. He's just a guy. He's a jag. But the truth is, he comes in, he does 19 for 26, 203 touchdowns. Just a typical Kyle Shanahan offense, man. But Brock Purdy knows the system. All right. So get ready to see a lot more of it. Running back CMC, 41 snaps, his fewest of the season, Coop, because Brock Purdy is back. And that still allowed him. Well, by the way, he got 2 snaps on kick return, so only 39 offensive snaps. But what the heck is he doing back there on kick return, dude? You can't let some guy trying to make a name for himself come out and blow CMC's knee out. Like, that is so stupid. Like, I think Kyle is like the best coach of our kind of modern era. But that's a dumb move, okay? Take care. He still got 121 total yards on those 39 offensive snaps. He had 3 touchdowns. He's a great man. So, Coop and I both tried to tell you, like, what if he stays healthy? Let's just spin the game back towards the people that wanted to say, what if he's hurt? What if he's hurt? Well, what if he's not hurt? Okay, well,
don't worry about that. I said it all offseason. I was like,
too.
You're going to be rooting for your players to stay healthy no matter what. Right? Like, that's the game. So why would you draft a worse player and root for him to not get hurt instead of just drafting the good players and root for them to not get hurt? Like, it's as simple as that to me. Like, anyone can get hurt. So just draft the good player and cross your fingers. Right? Why would you draft the worst player and then cross your fingers? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Sometimes logic is not applied in our everyday thinking, not just in fantasy football, man. George Kittle, guess who what he did with Brock Purdy back? He played 28 snaps, 6 receptions, 67 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, they're just like Jedis together on the same page, They work really well together. And then Jennings, 41 offensive snaps. He had 2 kick returns. So I don't know if it's an injury. I don't know what's going on. But I'm not a fan of it. 4 for 54. I mean, you've got 1 healthy wide receiver, and you're throwing him back there at kick return. I don't know what was happening late in that game why they did that, but they got to X-nay that. All right, cut that out, San Francisco. And I don't even like you, San Francisco. I hope y'all lose all your games, but I want my fantasy football players to do well.
Be healthy.
Looking at Arizona, man, the game. I need to see the Brissett. I'm in Gary Davenport's one and done league, and somebody had Brissett Wilson stack this week, and I want to see that in the DFS stack. One time use they did that. Brissett was a monster, man. 47 of 57, 452, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That means only 8 out of 57 passes hit the field, my man. You know how incredibly rare or amazing that is? It's just insane. When
the record for completions, right? 47.
47. I mean, yeah, and like I said, 2 more to the defense. So really 49 completions. It's really amazing when you think about it. Just the DFS Slayer. If you had Brissett, congratulations. It killed the running game though, because they were behind so early. 36 total rushing yards. Nobody really did anything of value there, but it forced Michael Carter. Like, if you had him in a best ball, he got 5 receptions, about 30 something yards, I believe, off the top of my head. So it gave running back still had value. They just didn't get it through the running back game. through the rushing game. Michael Wilson, you already heard Coop kind of sneak up and say it. He was the best ball hero if you had him. 15 receptions, 185 yards. Just a kind of a career game. I don't know that he's ever going to get that again. And then McBride, he had a great game even by his standards. True tight end one. Probably going to be he's probably the new Kelsey in my opinion. 10 for 115, one. He's quarterback proof. He's matchup proof. You can't throw a safety on him. You can't throw a nickel corner on him. You can't throw a linebacker on him. He is simply amazing. And then Greg Dortz, how about this, man? 6 for 66, one touchdown, and then he had 130 return yards, like we talked about. So there is some value there in Dortch for deeper leagues and for return yard leagues. Unreal game. Unreal.
Yeah. But still, I mean, like Brissett, dude, the fact that he was even better this week than he has been, because he hasn't scored less than like 23 fantasy points in any of these games, 5 straight starts. So he's the top ad. Brian was asking, I'm still working my way through the games and getting my waiver wire article set up. I will tell you this. I do like C-Rod probably as the top running back right now, unless we hear that Josh Jacobs is going to be a multi-week injury, and then we're going for Emmanuel Wilson. All right. Because C-Rod's the closest to actually starting on his own without injury. So he's kind of the guy there. Michael Wilson, if he's out there, add him. If somebody dropped somebody like Alec Pierce during the bye, go for him. I was kind of poking around and saw he didn't get picked up in a lot of leagues, which is kind of crazy.
I like
not much at tight end this week. So yeah, it's kind of Brissett, C-Rod, Michael Wilson we're looking at in that range. But again, I'm gonna have articles up with everybody in there. Christian Watson also available in a lot of leagues too, I noticed. So we'll be stashing Burden and Jaden Higgins and those guys. So we'll take a little peek at that. Is London going to be startable when he comes back? I don't know. He's never had a good game with Kirk Cousins like ever, and now his knee is hurt. So we'll have to see. But I mean, London's the guy that you just start anyway. But I would make other plans for the time being because he's hurt. Seahawks here. We wanted Rashid Shaheed to step up and be the guy in 2 wide receiver sets, but he has not done that. It's been JSN and Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp's not really doing anything, so hard to really trust anybody outside of JSN. AJ Barner definitely had a good week this week, and he actually the thing that's been missing for him is he's been like a 50-60% route participation guy. This week he was at 82%. Maybe it's because the game script was negative for a lot. Who knows? But AJ Barner could potentially be a streamer for you if you need it. It's just, again, kind of hard to trust on this team. And Kenneth Walker actually scored a rushing touchdown, believe it or not. I didn't think it was possible. And sure enough, I mean, I was surprised. They put him in the goal line, and he didn't just fall apart. He didn't melt. He actually was able to just run right in the end zone.
Well, that touchdown happened because they couldn't change personnel. They threw it down there.
Rushing, yeah.
And Kenneth Walker was in there. They took him forever to snap it. I was like, just hand it off. Then they did it.
They would have put Sharps in there, I'm sure, to vulture that. But we learned that Kenneth Walker can score, believe it or not. So that's nice. Good game for him. On the Rams side, pretty simple. Puka and Adams are in your lineup every week. Stafford is in your lineup most weeks. The tight ends all rotate. Tyler Higbee got hurt here, but they're not just going to take Terrence Ferguson and make him the guy. They're still just going to rotate between Davis Allen and Colby Parkinson. So it's really just Puka and Adams. And then the workload had been split between Kyron and Corum the last couple of weeks. Like last week, it went Kyron, Corum, Kyron, Corum, Kyron. And then to start the second half, Kyron came back out, and it went Kyron, Corum. Talking about drives. Every drive, they were getting different ones. This week in the first half, they did that. This one's per Nathan Yonke. He pulled the numbers on this. It was Kyron, Corum in the first half. But in the second half, they kind of abandoned that and then just went Kyron for most of the second half. So good news for Kyron Williams, folks out there. Blake Corum definitely kind of still more of just a pure handcuff moving forward. Anything else on that game?
Yeah, they tried to give Corum a touchdown, though. There was that drive on that first touchdown. Gave it to him. Finally, they're like, Kyron, get out here. He got the job done.
Kyron just more efficient right now. J-Man's got a question here. Judkins or Tracy rest of season if you had to pick one?
Judkins. He's got way more volume. Yeah.
Yeah. And Singletary's he's getting a lot of the goal line carries, which when you're on a bad team, you got to be getting all the work. You know what I mean? Like if you take a little part of, we see it with the Titans too. It's like once you split the work on these bad teams, there's just not enough work. And same thing goes for the Giants. Like Tracy, if he had the full role, then you can start him. But like if he's not going to get the touchdowns and he's just going to be playing for the Giants, not appealing.
And he didn't have the goal line work with Scadabo. I mean, so they're going to keep giving it to Singletary. So
yeah, exactly. Singletary's just a bigger bruiser back. Ravens Browns, what do you got, man?
Yeah, man. Lamar, low game in production. You could thank the Browns defense for that. It's a great defense to have no offense. It sucks. Fantasy football value for all playmakers, though, despite Lamar having a bad game. Henry still had 33 snaps, 20 touches, 122 total yards, over 100 yards rushing. So you got that boost, just like Coop said. We're getting into the cold months. Defenses are going to start playing better, which means you're going to have to control the clock with the run game. That's what the Ravens are known for. They're going to do it. Keontae Mitchell had 16 offensive snaps, 8 touches. So half of his snaps were touches, 54 total yards. He is, in my opinion, a must-own handcuff for, Derrick Henry owners. He had 19 offensive snaps, didn't do anything with them. They're phasing him out of the offense completely. It's about Mitchell and Henry going forward. Flowers, he still had 3 receptions for 78 yards, so over 10 points in a PPR league. Good value. Andrews, 4 receptions, 4 touches, I should say, 67 yards. That sneak kind of run play got him the touchdown. Difference in the game. What a great moment.
That was tricky. That was nifty.
Yeah.
I like that.
That was smart. Good coaching, good play calling, great execution. It's going to be hard to beat that no matter which side of the ball it's coming from. So I like Andrews. I'm really happy for him. So,
and you can't even blame the Browns defense because they play design was so good. They had everybody moving one way. Who was expecting naked bootleg? Like no chance, right? Like I don't blame. Every cue as a linebacker tells you to go that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this is not in your wildest dreams would the naked bootleg come out. So smart play.
I'm sure they didn't want to use that then. I'm sure they would rather have had that later in the season, but divisional game, they're behind in the standings. They had to pull it out to do it.
Got to win that game.
Yeah, it was a must-win game. Gabriel concussion. Looks like Sanders, an injury. I think it's a concussion. Sanders looked bad, but he didn't get any starting reps. There was a couple good throws, a couple bad throws. He looked like a rookie quarterback making his first, game, experience in the NFL. Judkins, like we talked about, 34 snaps, 17 touches, 59 rushing yards. He didn't have any reception yards. They were trying to get him the ball, like I said. Division rivalry, Baltimore's defense is looking better and better and better each week. So I don't really fault him for that. Ford had 17 snaps, 1 for 2 yards, and Sampson had 6 offensive snaps, 1 for 19. Tillman and Judy, 30 receptions each. Fanning, 40 offensive snaps, 2 receptions, 26 yards. And Njoku, 37 snaps, 1 reception, 7. This offense is going to be difficult to know. I mean, I thought Gabriel was starting to be a little more steady. He was keeping some production going. If he's not able to play and they got to switch to Sanders and then maybe come back to Gabriel, I think it's going to disrupt the rhythm of this offense maybe for the rest of the season. So just something to monitor. Of course, Myles Garrett, I got to bring him up, man. 4 sacks again. And this time he did it against Lamar Jackson. It's just like, he's a special player. Even if you're not playing with IDP, appreciate Myles Garrett being able to do this most of the time with the negative play script. Most of the time, his team's playing from behind, and he's still able to get all this done.
He's awesome, man. He's awesome. He's the kind of guy that was mad earlier this year when he had all the sacks. He was pissed that they took him out of the game because they were getting beat. It's like it's not his fault the team stinks. They gave him a lot of money to keep him there, but they said they had a plan. I don't know what the plan is, dude. I think the plan, believe it or not, is to start Deshaun Watson next year. Basically, just roll all these guys out and say, hey, we tried nothing and nothing works. So we're going to start the guy we owe $47 million guaranteed.
That's the name I'd even forgot about, to be honest with you. Yeah, Watson might be the plan.
He'll be the starter next year. I'm telling you, that was a plan all along. Just like bring in Pickett. They can say, hey, we traded for a guy in Pickett, didn't work. We signed a veteran, Flacco, didn't work. We drafted 2 guys, didn't work. Like that was the plan all along. And they calculated, okay, 3rd and 5th round pick. Yeah, all right. That'll be part of what we have to do to get this done. So it sucks, but that's what it is. Shedeur Sanders, again, as funny as it is to make fun of the game he had, you're right. He didn't get to work out as a starter all week. It doesn't really count, in my opinion. Played a very short game against a very good team. So hold out your judgment on Sanders.
Yeah, I agree.
For now. We will plenty of time to make fun of him.
Rushing yards on top of his completions. So there is potential for some points there if we use him.
Yeah, we'll give him another shot. Next one here, Luke, Mile High Luke, cover your eyes. Chiefs Broncos. There it is, dude. The Chiefs currently 50% chance of making the playoffs, believe it or not.
5-5, dude. They just got to catch Jack.
5-5. I think I think the odds are better than that, better because they're the Chiefs. But I mean, it's getting scary in Chief land. I'll tell you what, Xavier Worthy, more like Xavier, not at all trustworthy for fantasy. So I'm done with Xavier Worthy. Yeah, put him on that. I'm done with Xavier Worthy. Again, this guy, he wasn't even producing when Rashee Rice was out. Now he's definitely not producing. He's not getting the carries anymore. Like for me on this team, I'm starting Rashee Rice. I'm starting Travis Kelce. And if I have my back against the ropes, I'll start Worthy. I'm not going to drop him because he is the kind of fast guy that has upside and in any random week, but like can't trust him. So there you go. With Isaiah Pacheco out, Hunt played 56 snaps, only 12 for Brashad Smith. So if you've been holding out hope for Brashad Smith, you can drop him. Pacheco's going to be back at some point, but as long as Pacheco's out, Kareem Hunt is a start. I've been starting him. Like he's playing a ton, 56 snaps for running back.
And that was after
on the Broncos.
They had time to plan this.
Yeah. On the Broncos side, RJ Harvey, 38 snaps for him. It felt like Jaleel McLaughlin played a lot because on his 8 snaps, he got 6 carries. Like he was the other one, like the Jordan Mason. He was the Jordan Mason of this game, right? Like when he was in the game, he was getting the ball. 8 snaps for Bidet, but like I don't know. For me, RJ Harvey, 38 snaps. This is a terrible matchup. So I really just wanted to see him play. If he's going to get that much work, that percentage of the work, then I'm in. So RJ Harvey is going to be in my lineups moving forward. Pat Bryant is worth mentioning that he's separating himself from the other guys. So it's still Cortland Sutton and Troy Franklin as the top 2 dogs. But after those two, they've been kind of mixing and matching and rotating. Troy Franklin, 27 routes for him, only 13 for Marvin Mims. He's kind of carving out his own role and maybe a DFS dart throw right now and a stash in case something happens. Either Sutton or Troy Franklin goes down, and now you got this unknown rookie that's getting a big role here. Who knows? That's how guys pop out and make noise in fantasy. Evan Ingram only 50% route participation, so can't really trust him. Anything else on this Chiefs-Broncos game besides a little victory lapping there in Denver?
I mean, I'm happy Broncos are going into bye week. Look for them to kind of adjust that running back room. I would expect it, to be honest. And Pat Bryant, one of my most best ball guys. I love it, man. Looking at the Lions and the Eagles, pretty sorry game to watch unless you're an IDP guy like myself. I loved it. Pass rush disrupted everything the Lions tried to do. That's the formula to beat the Lions. Get 4 good defensive linemen, have Vic Fangio as your defensive coordinator, and you'll be able to get Jared Goff anytime you want, okay? But luckily for Lions owners and Goff owners, not every team has 4 great defensive linemen. It doesn't have Vic Fangio, obviously. So just, don't worry about that too much. Gibbs, 43 snaps, 17 touches, 146 total yards. Almost all of that came through the air, 5 receptions. So great. He was my DFS captain. It worked out great for me. No touchdown. They're probably going to keep using him in a dual threat. Montgomery, 23 snaps, man, only 7 touches, 37 total yards. Never really got a chance to get going. Montgomery's one of those guys that I think needs a lot of touches, and then he can kind of get going. So, like I said, Eagles defense, I'm not worried about it too much. Gibbs led all the team in production. Jameson Williams had 5 touches, 97 total yards. ASB held to a season low output in production. He had like 2 catches. It was terrible, but count it up to the Eagles. They'll be back. They're going to have a couple good games coming up, and they should be good to go. Hurts saved his production with his 10 rushing attempts for 31 yards and a touchdown. He only had like 132 passing yards. So he's very reliant on his legs, but he's still good due to it, especially in this league where we've had 12 or 13 quarterbacks go down. Hurts has been a good play. Barkley had 27 touches, 90 total yards out of that. They were just kind of eating up the clock with him, trying to get out of this game without a big play happening. A.J. Brown, the squeaky wheel, he once again had 7 receptions, had more targets than that for 49 yards. Of course, that killed Devontae Smith's production and Dallas Goedert. For Smith, it was a season-low output in production. Goedert had 2 catches for 24 yards. Defensive match, dude. Philadelphia's defensive line is so good with Phillips. They got Graham. He came back, after I blanked on the defensive tackle got hurt. So they added depth to the defensive interior. And then they went and got Phillips out of Miami, who Vic Fangio already worked with. And he just was such a seamless fit. He just is right in there, disrupted it. He got the game ball last night, for goodness sake. So
he looked great out there, yeah. So
dude,
awesome.
I go for it. That was a great move. Howie Roseman doing Howie Roseman things.
Howie Roseman, yeah. Best 2 GMs out there, probably Howie Roseman and Les Snead. Brad Holmes, too. There's some good ones out there. So shout out to them. I guess we'll wrap it up just by mentioning they really got to figure out a way to make certain plays reviewable because we have the ability to get these plays right, right? Like that call at the end.
Oh,
I
terrible.
think pretty much everybody on both sides can agree that it was kind of a joke. I mean, Chris Collinsworth, like usually pretty reserved guy, was just like, wow, that stinks. What a way to end this game. Game's over, I guess. Like, let's figure it out. Let's get it right. I said it all the way back with like that. I forget the guy that had the perfect game, but then the blown call at first base.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
They tried to give him a car. It's like, why don't we just get it right? Like, just get it right. Now baseball does get it right. In football, they were ahead of the game on the reviews, but now they're behind. Like the whole world saw that play, that it was a bad call. I'm not worried about embarrassing umpire refs or whatever. Like, just get it right. So, end of rant on that. Folks, thank you so much for joining us. Definitely, if you want to rock a big dog chain, like it's a gift you can get for your whole league. Like because it's you buy it. Look, you buy, especially when you win, you buy it and wear it. But then moving forward, it's a gift for everybody. Whoever wins gets to rock it. It's just a cool thing. And these guys have the best product and best price. So if you go to fantasyalarm.com/USA chains, you can get a present for your whole league. Christmas is right around the corner. So super cool. I'm glad we linked up with those guys. But that's it for us. I'm going to be here on this channel every day at 1 o'clock. Tomorrow we're doing waivers. Wednesday we're doing trades and DFS. Thursday we're going to do start sits. And then Friday I have a guest once again. I believe it's Ian Hartitz this week to talk a little ball, make a little FFPC lineup. So that's going to be it for Iggy and I. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on the way out the door. But from Iggy and from me,
adios, turd nuggets.